So I was online, minding my own business, and I noticed that folks were trashing Katabasis by RF Kuang. And my friend told me she kept seeing bad reviews, but this is what I'm expecting from RF Kuang, so I'm confused. Did we read the same book, or are people just reading it with the wrong expectations? Now, here's the thing. I have a theory, so we're going to break everything down, because my theory is about readers and their expectations. And I'm also going to tell you what the book is really about, and then we're going to compare things to her previous work. And before you come for me, okay, please tell me what book by RF Kuang you read first, or what was the last book you read, or what was the book you liked, and what you were expecting. Now, full disclosure, these are the books I've read. I've read the Poppy War Trilogy, all 3 books, Babel, Yellowface, and now Katabasis. So trust me, I know her style, I know her patterns. So again, when people are saying things like, this book is disappointing, or it wasn't what I was expecting, or it's nothing like her other works, again, I'm sitting here like, wait. Of course it's nothing like you expected. That's like literally the point, because Kuang reinvents herself with every book. Because this is where we get into the expectation problem. And this is kind of my theory. My theory is that your favorite or your first RF Kuang book will kind of shape your expectations and perceptions. So if you started with a Poppy War, you probably wanted more dark, military fantasy, gods, gore, and all the things. Now, if your first or favorite was Babel, then you're expecting academic satire, dense historical world building, essays disguised as chapters. But also, if you started with or loved Yellowface, you might think of her as this sharp, contemporary, literary satirist who is skewering publishing and then the world. And then comes Katabasis, which is literally a dark academia descent into hell. And suddenly people are confused and people are mad. But the truth is, when people say they're disappointed, what they're really saying is, this isn't the RF Kuang book I wanted. And honestly, I don't think that is a fair critique of the book itself. So let's get into a bit of critique here. I'm going to be sharing my reviews. Again, this is my thoughts and my opinions, and you can share yours in the comments. So Katabasis, for me, this book has been living in my head rent-free because I did read an early copy online. Our main character is Alice, all right? She's a PhD candidate. She's in this analytical magic thing at Cambridge, which basically means her life is already hell. Now, her professor, her advisor, he dies in this really awful and gruesome accident. Might be her fault, as in Alice's fault. And instead of being like, okay, I'm so sad, I'm going to grieve, I'm going to move on, Alice is like, no, I need this man to approve my thesis and get me a job. So guess what? I'm going down to hell and I am dragging this man back. And that right there, in my opinion, tells you what kind of book this is, because who else but RF Kuang would turn the phrase, you know what, academia is hell, and make that into an actual plot line. And of course, you know what, she doesn't go to hell alone, because here enters Peter. Peter is the golden boy. He is the genius who never has to try, Academia, teachers, everyone, they love him. Alice and us would probably hate him. And honestly, look, I did too at first, because he's the kind of character you just want to throw a book at. But the way Kuang kind of peels back his layers later on, okay, look, it got me. I will admit it, because his genius comes with a price, and Peter's price is brutal. Now, here's where things get so Kuang, in my opinion. The underworld isn't all fire and brimstone. Sometimes hell literally looks like a campus, okay? Faculty meetings, rivalries, ghosts of old students, you name it, it's there. It's petty, it's bureaucratic, it's soul-crushing. So basically, Cambridge is hell, just with demons. And as we see Alice and Peter descend deeper and deeper into hell, they're not just facing monsters, they're facing their own academic trauma and their toxic relationship with their professor, who they're going down to hell to drag out anyway. Now, before I rant anymore, can we have a sidebar? Do you remember this book? It was entitled Sign Here. I'm blanking on the author's name, but I'll get the book cover up here somewhere. That book pitched hell as a corporation, and I completely endorsed that depiction. I thought the idea was brilliant because, I mean, look, if you've worked in corporate anywhere, corporate working in corporate can be hell. So the fact that Kuang decided to make, college, university, academia, the pursuit, all the things we go through to, get that degree, get that PhD, the fact she chose to make it hell, I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, getting back to the book, the thing I loved is that this felt really, really, really natural. It also felt like the natural evolution of RF Kuang's writing. I mean, you can see traces of Babel here with, the obsession with academia, translation, messy intellectual ambition, and all the things. You can also see echoes of Yellowface with the petty rivalries, imposter syndrome, people making the worst choices ever because you know what? They want validation. Because in the end, most people just want to be liked. They want to be accepted. But here's the thing. This isn't like a redo or a rewashing of themes because she goes full on mythological. Okay? I was getting Dante, Orpheus, underworld imagery, but filtered, again, through the grad school lens and grad school politics. So it's extra, but it's extra in the best way. Now, can we talk about Alice? Because she is messy. Oh my gosh, she is messy. She betrays people. She makes excuses for Grimes, even though she knows he's terrible. She makes selfish choices constantly. But here's the thing. She's supposed to be messy. I mean, RF Kuang doesn't write likable characters. I mean, when was the last time she wrote a likable character? She writes characters who force you to sit with the ugliest parts of life, and in this case, ambition and power. And honestly, that is why I love her. That's why I love her books, because if you're looking for a quirky heroine you can cheer for, listen, this is the wrong author for you. So when I see people are complaining that Katabasis is slow and it's boring, to that I say, have you read Babel? If you haven't read Babel, I'll give you a pass. But if you read Babel, I mean, Kuang doesn't write sprinty little thrillers or escapist fantasy that is just beautiful and thrilling. She builds, she layers, she makes you wrestle with her arguments. Like, you don't skim Kuang. I mean, you grapple with her. You are obsessed with her and the book for that time being. You can't be reading or doing anything else because you need to devote yourself to the book and you're grappling with the themes and the topics she's talking about. And sure, can the middle section feel like a slog? Yes, because I'm a realist. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. But I kind of feel those sloggy bits are deliberate because academia is a slog. I mean, I think hell is supposed to be a slog. So if you felt that while reading, congratulations, you got the point. And the side characters, can we talk about them? I felt they were fantastic. Elspeth on the river, haunting, unforgettable. I mean, she represents that student who gave everything, blood, sweat, and tears to the system and cannot move on. She just can't, not even in death. And the scene with the river itself, stunning. The temptation to just forget, to just step into oblivion, to stop existing instead of fighting. I felt Kuang nailed that feeling of academic burnout. So precisely, it hurt. It really took me back. I have PTSD. So for me, I felt like those themes hit me harder than some of, the big dramatic moments. Ooh, and don't let me forget, this book is funny. Okay, yes, it's dense. All right, it's dark. But we get some slides of humor in there, little daggers of humor. For example, Alice observing that hell's weather isn't that much worse than an English spring. And if you've survived an English spring, you know what she's talking about. So my thing is, that line had me cackling because Kuang knows, in my opinion, when to release the tension, when to give, when to tighten, when to let go, and more importantly, poke fun at her very own setup. Like, if you can't laugh at your own self, I mean, what are you doing? What are we doing as readers? So, did I love every single page? No, okay? Because look, again, I'm a realist. I'll keep it 100 with you. It's long. It demands, again, a lot of attention. It demands everything from you as a reader. But for me, I felt it was absolutely worth it because Katabasis isn't really about hell. I felt it was about academia itself. It's about the cruelty of academia, the ambition, the endless sacrifice, the fact that Alice had already sold her soul to the system before she even stepped foot into the underworld. So for me, the descent just kind of really made it more literal, So if you read this expecting, I feel, the Poppy War battles or Yellowface satire, of course you're going to be disappointed. But if you've been paying attention, if you've been following Kuang's trajectory, and as a person who's read those books, this book for me makes perfect sense. It has Babel's intellectual rigor. It has Yellowface's pettiness. It has the Poppy War Trilogy's brutality, just all mashed up and spun into something mythic and brand new. And honestly, and this might be a hot and unpopular take, but I think this book might be her most personal feeling book yet. Because who hasn't wondered, halfway through a project, halfway through chasing a dream, halfway of climbing the ladder to somewhere, if every and all that you're doing, if it really matters, and in the end, is it really worth it? Now, I know I've been ranting a bit. We're going to bring it all down, okay? Whew. We're going to bring it all down because I do want to do a bit of comparing and contrasting. I want us to zoom out for a second. Let's sit back. I'm going to sit back because I think a lot of the backlash, again, is wild if you look at her overall career. So let's compare and contrast her previous work. Now, for me, the Poppy War Trilogy, those 3 books came out swinging. We got fantasy, gods, vengeance, bloodshed, just everything everywhere. And I felt like that trilogy said, you want a dark heroine? Okay, I'll give you one who's going to burn down the world and you're going to feel complicit in it because you know what? I did. Then when I think about the fact her dropping Babel, that was a completely different beast. You know, it was dense, academic, deeply political, dark academia, but instead of, you know, vibes and aesthetics, we're giving you colonialism, translation, exploitation. I felt some people wanted Hogwarts, but instead she gave us systematic oppression with lots of footnotes. And I felt, yes, did she whack me over the head with some things? Sure. But then she gave us Yellowface, totally contemporary, totally sharp, a satire that rips publishing apart while making you squirm because the odds are you've probably seen or maybe even known of someone, an author or person like June, who is petty, self-absorbed, morally bankrupt. But it's a train wreck and you can't look away. And now we have Katabasis and people are like, wait, what is this? What is the through line? Again, like I said earlier, it has Babel's intellectual rigor, Yellowface's pettiness, rivalries, and all the things. And Poppy War's brutality, but it's just repackaged into mythological dark academia. And no, she's not repeating herself. I think she's just evolving. So if you picked up Kuang because you love Poppy War, I'm telling you, you're going to be mad. All right, you're going to be mad. If you picked it up because of Yellowface and thought everything is going to be, you know, satirical, snarky, you're going to also be mad. You know, really, truly. But if you've actually followed her trajectory, this makes perfect sense. I'm excited. I loved it. It's RF Kuang doing what RF Kuang does best. Burning down another system, this time academia, and she's telling you this is a train wreck. But can you look away? And I couldn't look away, and odds are probably you couldn't too. But I really want to hear from you. This is where I think it's going to get interesting because I need to know if you've read RF Kuang, what was your first book or what was your favorite book? Because I think, again, when we read books by certain authors, it locks us into what we've come to expect. So let me know in the comments. Again, let me know if you've read all her work. What was your reading order? Let me know what was your favorite book. Let me know if Katabasis lived up to what you wanted or if it completely threw you, but you could still appreciate it. And, you know, bigger question, do you think folks hating this book is actually warranted? Is it just me? Am I an apologist? What is going on? Did it not deliver on the story? Was it more about the characters? Because look, if you want to talk about character building, I think that is a fair discussion point. So share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Because now that I'm at the end of just, you know, me ranting and raving about this book, it has me thinking maybe I need to do a video where I break down her books, maybe rank her books, you know, and really deep dive a bit more into it. Maybe I should make an RF Kuang reading guide. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want to hear from me. Again, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. But also hit like and subscribe and stick around for more bookish deep dives. But also be sure to join me for Thursday's lives, okay, where we're always talking about what's new, what's happening in the bookish community, and sharing themed reads. All right, everyone. Bye. Okay.